Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Block Party. After a long and well deserved winter break, this is Block Party number 44, and happy to be joined by BJ and Dr. Silas Rao and Marco and others who will join us. And we've got some exciting news as we kick off the Food Healers segment. And so I'm going to let I'm going to let you take it away and tell us what you got.
All right, thank you, Jamin. Today we have something exciting happening because we are taking some food to the Navajo Nation, and as a sample for the kind of food they can get from the ISKCON temple, which is going to be cooking healthy, immune-boosting vegan food, ready to be delivered once a week. So it's a weekly meal service that they are offering to create. And so ISKCON Temple has a kitchen that can cook up to 7,000 meals at a time. And
Wow.
And when we said, oh, this is for healing indigenous people, they said, we are in. We are in.
I love it. Oh my goodness.
And we are going to be funding it by selling the same meals to the devotees. And hi, Kate.
Kate, good morning, sister. Welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah,
back.
maybe I'll repeat for Kate's benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good to see you.
Lovely to see you, Kate. So this week we got a call from the ISKCON temple in Phoenix. So actually someone connected us all together. And so we asked them, because they have a commercial kitchen. So would you be willing to cook for the indigenous communities so that they can get healthy food? They can reverse their diabetes. And they said, we are in. Let us know. And so they have a kitchen that can cook for 7,000 people at a time. And it's a commercial kitchen. And they have the cooks who are basically devotees who are saying, how can we serve? And so here we are, so we're just putting the pieces together. People are all willing and waiting to help and to do this, but they were not being asked yet. So that's all that happened. We asked and they said yes. So we are taking 24 quarts of stew today to Navajo Nation as a sample for the kind of food that they can get. And then we're going to ask them to, let us know how many meals we should be bringing once a week. And then the same meals will be sold to the devotees in the Phoenix area at double the cost, so to speak, so that we can recover the cost of this and have some money for the temple. So I think when the temple starts doing this, there will be donations coming into the temple automatically. And that the temple people said, as whenever we did any food donations, we never had any problems with getting money for it. Because people are always willing to pay, willing to open up their wallets for that. So, in fact, I wrote to Satish about it, the one who funds a lot of animal rights people. And he said, I'm surprised that ISKCON agreed to cook vegan food. I said, I didn't have to say vegan. I just said healthy meals. And they said, of course you'll cook healthy meals. And then they'll discover that healthy meals don't involve any animal foods, That's because that's what PCRM says. So it's depending on how you ask, people do these things for you.
Yeah. And PCRM.
Yeah,
say what PCRM is.
PCRM is the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. And I wrote to Dr. Neil Barnard yesterday saying that we are starting this. And he said, how can we help? And, let us know. And, because he thinks it's a very important program. Because he said, we've always been telling them what to cook. We've been educating people, but we never really delivered food. And he said, that's the next step. And it's important that we do that. So progress, great progress.
Love it, Silas. Oh my goodness. We've been kind of if I may, we've been kind of hypothesizing for months, the world is ready for this. And once we just start, people will start donating. Well, you have started, Silas, in a very big way. You started just by yourself, and you've shown that one person can make a difference and that one community can make a difference. And I really think that as this gets going and we start to publicize what we're doing and share it with the world, and why not? This is like a treasure that we have, the treasure of generosity, the treasure of whole food, plant-based diet, the treasure of giving, the treasure of efficiency. Hey, let's just make a whole bunch of stew for everybody, right? Rather than everybody in their home buying a bunch of plastic packaged stuff in stores that's irradiated and full of chemicals and whatever. What if we just get so thank you, Silas, for all that your wonderful leadership and bringing us all together. And now that this is starting, I think we can not slowly, but quickly let the secret out of the bag.
Right.
And the generosity, like you said, when people start gifting food to people, the generosity just happens. It's natural. It just goes with it. Combine that with the efficiency and the bang per buck. And I think we just have such a winning formula. So tell us about the ISKCON Temple. Who are these folks?
ISKCON Temple is part of the organization that was started by Swami Prabhupada in the 60s and 70s. He came over to the US and he wanted to promote Krishna consciousness. So it's the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. And one of the aspects of this, he actually had a rule that within 10 kilometers of any ISKCON temple, no one should be hungry. So that was his rule. He said, we need to cook. So that was part of the ethos right from the beginning, cooking for others, cooking for people. And so ISKCON temple, I know, Steve Jobs has written about it. He used to go to the ISKCON temple and eat when he was a student because he didn't have any food. He didn't have any money. So he said he would eat I think they had it open once a week. He said he would go eat for the whole week. I don't know how he did that. But anyway, they've always had this in their ethos. And I think now that Phoenix has agreed to do this, it's going to be easier to get all the other ISKCON temples around the country and probably around the world to say, yep, we'll follow the same model. We'd be happy to do the same thing. Because it brings donations to them. The devotees buy the food. They started opening up a kitchen. So the way it happened was they opened up a kitchen like last week, and for the first time ever during COVID, and they were offering rotis for 50 cents, and so they were trying to make some money because they're not getting any donations because nobody is coming to the temple. And so we went and bought a bunch of rotis. And then we approached the head saying, hey, why don't we do this in a big way? And so that helped.
It's such a story because until I think you told me last year, Silas, that the Krishna, that faith. All right, we got Jordan Merrill joining. I'm just going to pause while we welcome folks just to let them know we're recording. All right, after a brief pause, and welcome Jordan. Silas, you were sharing with us about the ISKCON temple and the faith and whatnot. I am just fascinated because what a beautiful way for them to project their beliefs and philosophy to the world, which is share with everyone, feed everyone, which is exactly what we need right now. Exactly what the world needs. So carry on, Silas, and sorry for the interruption.
Yeah, so the ISKCON temple, ISKCON is a society that worships Krishna. So he's the avatar of Vishnu that was part of the Bhagavad Gita. He's the one who said the Bhagavad Gita, right? And so, I mean, people, Hindus know ISKCON very well because they do a lot of this food donations, providing free food to people. Anytime you go to the temple, you can get free food. But they've been closed during COVID. So they finally opened up last week, and they said, okay, our kitchen is now open. We want to just start selling some food. So they called it the Radharani kitchen. And so they said, $5, $5 for this dish, and then 50 cents for every roti, and comes in a package of 25 or 50. And so I said, okay, let's go buy some. And then people were standing in line, with masks, socially distanced, waiting for their. Basically, they said, we send in the order by Friday night, and we'll cook everything and have it ready for you Saturday afternoon. You can come pick it up. And that's what we were doing. So then we contacted the head and said, is there a way we can just make it formal and you can just cook for, 1,000 people or something, and then we'll collect the money and give it to you. And they said, yeah, why not? Sure. So then we said, would you do it for indigenous people? So we can just transport it. They said, well, we can do everything. We can actually cook for them. We can pack it and everything, but we don't have enough drivers to deliver it. I said, no, don't worry about the drivers. We'll take it over there once a week. No problem. Because it goes to their community center and they distribute it themselves. So they said, we are in, let us know. So, we have been donating to the indigenous community, basically grains and Clorox bleach and things like that. Whatever they need, they've been asking us, and send us sweaters or whatever. And so this time we are going with 24 quarts of stew, unity stew, to give them a taste for a sample for the kind of food they're going to get from the temple. And then ask them, if we bring you cooked food once a week, how many of you would want to join the program? And so that's the kind of discussion that's going to happen. So I have to leave in about half an hour to go meet up with the others. And then we are going to drive together. It's about 2.5 hours from there.
Yeah, wow. So incredible. Because I see this taking off and spreading like wildfire. And the ISKCON temple, who've been doing this for decades, like who better, right? And what a great story of supporting First Nations people in need and peoples of different faiths coming together and different backgrounds coming together, especially in the face of all the horrors that we're seeing happen right here in our own country. And so, what better way to unite people and convey to people, we all matter. All of us matter, and it matters that we all eat, and it matters that we do things together. And so this is all of these things that we believe in just manifested in the physical form. And so I am so grateful to you, Silas, and so excited for what we can do to expand upon this and grow it. And the delivery is an interesting thing. I've long been hypothesizing now that once we start this in a big city like Los Angeles or Seattle or whatever, and people see a truck going around delivering the bulk stew to whoever needs it, whoever wants it, and but really taking it, for lack of a better word, upscale with like really good recipes, cooked and prepared and optimized by chefs who really have a good taste for what the community will want, right, in that local community. And I've long talked about, we can use Tesla trucks and whatnot and really make it, for lack of a better word, a really exciting, sexy thing that people just say, whoa, what's going on here, right? And I believe we have real urgency. Marco, yeah, you got your hand up. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I think, I have smaller news, but good news. Misha joined us from the Philippines last night. All day for him. I kept him, and he was going to be here for this Food Healers, but he was feeling, he'd been up for so many hours yakking with me that he was a little tired. So he'll try and meet at tonight's Food Healers. But he asked for our basic recipe, and I gave him the one that we had started out with. He wants to see what he can do with local foods from the Philippines where he's at, to see if maybe he wants to experiment with it. And he says hopefully he would be able to be a part of Food Healers there, and do the program the way we're trying to do it. So
Awesome. Thank you,
I thought
Marco.
that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I should be back by that time. I'll be here for the evening segment. Yeah. So, and then I'll have news about what they said.
Right.
Yeah,
Great.
that'll be
What a
exciting.
great day.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And some may not know about the universal food idea, about how important it is to not feed people food that they may have allergies to.
Right.
And isn't it wonderful that Universal Foods lines up with whole plant-based foods, beautifully.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I wanted to ask you, and that's wonderful news, Marco. I wanted to ask you about you're in Arizona, and you probably have restrictions, during COVID times, and they managed to find a way around, working together and that sort of thing. And for expanding, I'm thinking about how to get a kitchen around here to open up. And I wonder if you know any more about that, how they did that.
Relatively, Arizona does not have as many restrictions as other states.
Okay.
Because Arizona's Governor Ducey doesn't believe in telling people to do. So
Okay.
he has recommendations for
Okay.
what, and then people do follow most of the time. But COVID is rampant right now,
Mhm.
especially to American communities. It's quite rampant. So, and they don't have good facilities, so they have to send people over to Phoenix for treatment for serious people, serious cases. And so a lot of them are dying off, so it's really sad. So we want to address the underlying comorbidities, the underlying diabetes and heart disease and these things, because these can be reversed in 21 days with the right food. And we know that. Just imagine, right? Just 3 trips, weekly meal delivery, right? 3 trips, you can actually reverse this for them.
Wow.
Why don't we do that? So this is why, PCRM, it's important that they get on board, and they are on board, thankfully, so that they can tell them, your A1C, make sure that you reduce your diabetes medication because you're going to get better. These are things. Fortunately, the Navajo Nation people do know that, because their governor is vegan. And he reversed his heart disease, his diabetes, by going vegan. And he's been trying to tell them to do that, but they don't have the means to cook. They don't have the access to ingredients. And I mean, the temple food, how it tastes much better than anything that anyone can cook. There's something, it's sanctified, right? It's literally, it does taste much better. So,
Yeah. I lived in Austin in the 70s. Well, I lived there quite a long time, but I lived there when there were Hare Krishna, and I would go to the temple to eat, not regularly, but oh my gosh, the food was delicious. And the feeling, the love that you feel while you're there, and it brings out a generosity that moves into other areas. Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
I mean, we are all on a journey now, right? So we are in a journey to heal ourselves. So this is why tomorrow, Dr. McDougall is having a Climate Mastermind Summit, to elaborate on the idea that just like individuals can heal ourselves by eating a whole food plant-based diet, we can actually heal the whole earth by all of us going on a whole food plant-based diet. It's just a macro version of what the individuals are doing, right? So that's the theme for tomorrow's mastermind event. And so we're making the scientific case for why this is true. And then of course, we actually it'll be much easier for us to overcome our differences when we work together to heal the animals. I really believe that, when we work together to heal the earth and heal the animals, then we forget our differences because we have a service focus. I really believe that, that is the switch that's going to really reverse climate change, reverse everything. Because we'll then, come together as a species and say, this is our job. We made the mess, so we have to clean it up, and we have to reverse the fever that the earth has.
Wow, incredible! And Silas, I would like to encourage you to invite the folks from ISKCON Temple to join us here on Food Healers, whenever it's good for them, and in fact to invite their entire community and even spread the word so that our Friday meetings become a natural gathering point, so that even other Krishna temples around the country, around the world, can learn from your example. And I think there's so much potential. A thought just occurred to me, kind of a Krishna Christian alliance, for example, for the United States, where most people are Christian of one denomination or another, and we say, hey, let's work together. Let's bring the different religions together in a new and model togetherness. Model people from different backgrounds, different faiths, different traditions, different diets, coming together and saying, hey, let's do this. BJ, for example, you're a member of a church, not to put you on the spot, but I mean, how do you, like, if you went to your congregation and say, actually, and Kate has her hand up, so I want to give Kate an opportunity, but anyway, go ahead, Kate, sister.
Yeah, well, and actually I'm kind of thinking the same thing. How do I bring unity and agape into, and the Real Fork lady, I do have an appointment set up with her. So I have a gal here who, that's her passion, is feeding people, and she has a little place called the Real Fork, and if you can't pay, it's the same principle. But what I was thinking of is, Silas, as you take these foods for 3 weeks, if you can document changes in healing, and Dr. McDougall has such a powerful voice too, really compelling stuff that, I don't know, I just feel like who cannot hear that when it's brought in those ways. And then, does your class start this weekend, sir?
My class starts next week.
Okay, good. Because I got a little notice from the Hindu University, and they said something about Bhagavad Gita, because I signed up for your class.
You did?
But
okay.
it says it's this weekend, but you had to have a prerequisite. Anyway, it's a little bit weird working with the university, so I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing class.
No. That's to next week on the 13th.
Okay, good.
That sounds interesting. I hadn't heard you were teaching a class. Where at?
Oh, wow. I should be. Yeah, I'm teaching a class through the Hindu University of America. I put the link in the chat. It's on sustainability. So I call it the Dharma of global sustainability, which is really what is the right thing to do. Dharma is what is the right thing to do. And then next quarter, so it's 11 lectures at once a week. And then next quarter, I'm teaching the yoga of global transformation, which is how do you do it? So, and fortunately, a number of people from the Indian School of Business have joined the class. And they are, that's like the Harvard School of Business in India. It's the #1 school of business. in India. So they have a lot of tie-ins with corporations. So they are figuring out how to get corporations to get on board with this agenda. And so we had a discussion yesterday, and one of the things that came up was get the corporations to have vegan food as default, as opposed to meat as default, right? And then tell people, hey, if you want meat, let us know. We'll cater that too. So, because it's like you're not taking away the choices, right? But the default is vegan. It turns out that when you make that the default, 90% of the people choose the vegan food. Whereas if you make meat default and then ask people, how many of you want vegan food? Only 10% or 5% ask for it. So making it the default changes. And it also tells the employees that this is the normal, the new normal. You shouldn't be killing animals unnecessarily. So that sort of changes, I really think it changes people's consciousness when you do that. So they are thinking about introducing that into corporations in India. And telling corporations that if you introduce that, we will rate you higher than those who don't introduce it. So create a rating system, ISB rating system for sustainability, right?
And it would be true. It would be
true.
really true. Yeah.
As I'm thinking here and synthesizing, so as we roll out this program internationally, right, and really make it a thing, I'm thinking of like 6 major benefits that we can promote. And then I'm gonna note the one benefit that we're not promoting, and that's very strategic. So the 6 benefits. First, start with the individual, personal health. Hey, get healthy, and immune boosting and all that. Another is compassion for animals. Another is saving the planet, climate change, stopping the decimation of the Amazon and other ecosystems. Another is, and I'm just going to say it in loose terms, heart, spirit, and togetherness, right? Like, hey, this is all about us coming together, show the images of people cooking the food and delivering the food. 5th, stop the spread of COVID by staying at home. Let us bring you the food, right? As a duty to yourself, to your family, to the whole community. Let's stop zipping around everybody. Everybody chill out. If we just did this for a few weeks straight, we would poof. I mean, it's time. Better late than never. We should have done this a year ago. But and then the 6th benefit is when you're at home eating this delicious food and finding out about it, join the conversation. And with that, we really can promote collective intelligence. So those are 6 big kind of benefit areas. The one that I did not mention, and I don't think we should promote at all, is the one most normally associated with free food, which is, hey, if you're poor, come here to this soup kitchen, or come here to this, what do you call it? Food pantry, food, what do you call those? Food bank, right? And so because food banks are associated with poverty, my goodness, most people, even if they need it, will tend to stay away. So these other benefits are nothing about poverty. This applies to any socioeconomic class, anyone. And so let's promote these just amazing benefits. That's just a big inspiration that occurred to me for not just saving the planet, but uniting humanity. And it becomes a virtuous cycle as we come together and expand our consciousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
How exciting. Anyway, going on mute. Thank you.
No, I think it also, it feels good to be working on something, to be working on a solution, working on something that's going to make a difference. And then, because otherwise the news can be depressing. You sit there and say, there's nothing I can do about this. But no, we can do something about it. And eventually, I really think that it's all being shown to us, it's being revealed to us. What is the right way to do this? I mean, as a species, we are really like Trump. We really like Trump. We are the ones, we are the bosses of the planet, fight nature, right? That's what we've been doing. And nature is saying, no, you're not the boss. I am the boss. I have always been the boss. You're my puppet. And you're not listening. They're saying, no, I'm the boss. I won the election. No, you didn't. So she's burning down the gates of Silicon Valley, telling us, hey, I'm the boss. So do things that are in alignment with me. Otherwise, I'm going to kill you. So finally, what does it take for us to say, admit defeat and say, okay, no, we can't fight this war on nature. It's stupid to even have a war on nature. Right? So we have to get into alignment, and we have to start helping the animals. We need to bring them back. And there's so much work to be done. There's so much cleanup work to be done. We all know that. And this is why, I kind of got passionate yesterday with Dan Bader.
Bader.
Because, as long as we keep thinking that we need to have 130 slaves per person or more, right? Because Jeff Bezos has 130,000 slaves for himself. So where does it end? If you say I need 130 slaves, then what? Next year in 10 years, it's going to be 200 slaves. And then you say, well, we can't accommodate 2 billion people. We can only accommodate 1 billion people because we need 200 slaves per person. And then it'll be what? 400 slaves? Eventually there's no end to this. So the only way when we look for happiness outside, eventually there's going to be only one person left. Everybody else will be dead. That's where you're headed when you keep looking for happiness outside. This is why, we know it's not true. This is why even Jeff Bezos is unhappy. He wants more, right? He wants more. The key is to look for happiness inside. That's where it is. It always is there. You always had it. And so that's going to be the focus of my course, actually. So how do you frame things differently, right? And yeah, and because otherwise, there's no end to this. And how many Jeff Bezos do you need before you realize that there is no happiness outside? Because the guy is talking about going out to space, and he says, if we stay on Earth, we'll have to pave every square foot of the Earth's surface within the next 100 years with solar panels, just to get the energy we need.
The energy we think we need,
right,
to support the American lifestyle, which is all about build your own McMansion. We used to say McMansion, now it's mansion. Build your own mansion with your own self-supporting universe in there, your own big kitchen, your own big movie theater, your own big swimming pool and everything. And of course, we need to pave the entire planet with solar panels to power all that for everyone. But just take food, right? By doing it centrally, like you're doing there in Arizona, and distributing it efficiently, we really only need one big kitchen per community, minimum. And the same applies to transportation. It applies to access to, outdoor activities. It applies to education, computer access to so many things. It's way, way better together, way, way more efficient together if we adopt a sharing model. And it's way more fun. It's like, it's what our hearts have been yearning for. It's like somebody implanted this idea virus, I don't know, sometime overnight while we slept thousands of years ago. And we woke up in the morning in this psycho sci-fi thriller, delusion that we're all each other's enemies and we all need to take from each other and hoard for ourselves, individual hoarding for individual happiness, the American dream and all that. And what I love about what you're doing, Silas, and with the ISKCON temple, is we're showing the opposite extreme. Hey, what if we get together and do this as a gift for the whole community? And so I see this as the first domino, feeding everyone nutritious plant-based foods in a collective way as the first domino towards meeting all human needs in a collective way. This is the revolution we need. right?
Right.
Have you seen that animation? It's a line drawing of man and he starts off killing animals. You've
Mhm.
seen that? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's, I
Steve
think a
Cutts.
lot of people see humans as the villain when we look at nature, but they don't see the solution part. Many people work on the love part and the, you know, they see that people can be kind and generous. It's not that. But in terms of how that can be translated into a solution for so much damage ecologically, spiritually, that sort of thing. And so that's why I love the idea of you starting with your heart and you're giving food, and then you're seeing, oh my gosh, that doesn't harm the animals in the earth as much as the others. So yeah. I love
Yeah, we need a different animation. Just like Steve Cutts' animation about man, we need another one in which nature is using us as a puppet, using man as a puppet. Go do this, heat up the earth, heat up the earth, heat up the earth so that I don't ever go back to another ice age again, right? And
Yeah.
then slapping him awake and saying, now you stop. Now you stop, now regulate the temperature. Now this is your new job. Educate your children how to regulate temperature. So it's this, I think that's the animation that we really need. Another story in which we have been used by nature. Nature is so smart. We think nature is such a dumb thing that we can do what we want to it. And all along you discover that nature has been so smart. She's figured out how to use us. And because just like she uses the elephants, right, to make sure that the other creatures have their pathways. Every species is being used in nature. If you think about it, every species is useful for others. So why are we an exception? We are also being used, right? That's a new story we need to tell. A story in which it doesn't make us look so good when you discover that you're a puppet, that you've been used, that you've been had, that you've been
Right.
conned.
No,
You've been
that
conned
doesn't.
for 10,000 years, so into doing something.
Yeah.
But hey, it's time to get some humility into humanity.
Yeah, I have an idea. Does anybody remember there used to be, probably it may have been as far back as the 70s, a commercial for margarine where they show this lady out in the garden and they give her some margarine, and it's not nice to fool Mother Nature. That was an awesome commercial, you know.
So this time it should be, I fooled you. Mother Nature coming to human beings and saying, I fooled you.
I think something along those lines would be awesome.
Well, I like the story of being a part of something. Nobody wants to be used. I think I love your idea about humility. And we are just a little part of it, and it's enveloped us. It's enveloped us. It's really, I do want people to see that this bigger nature, the William Rudding theory that we've got to, that we've been a part of it, and now we actually do have a purpose. We're beginning to see our purpose. Yeah, maybe that's it. Anyway, I love it.
Like, Jane was complaining. Jane wrote an article recently about this activist who got beaten up because he was trying to document an illegal cockfighting that was going on. But the police were also betting, right? They were all in there, So it's like, yeah, it's illegal, but it's not enforced, right? That law is not enforced because everyone is participating in it, because it's the animals who are being used. And so when he tried to document it, they beat him up and they destroyed his car, and So Jane was saying, this is awful. But it's exactly the same situation that, yesterday we were talking about Black Lives Matter. If they had done this, we would have gone after them. But because white people did it, we didn't go after them, right? It's the same thing. It's like the laws are there. It's just not being enforced, right? Selectively enforced. It's selectively enforced. So if an animal abuses a human being, my God, that animal is dead, right? But a human happily abuses animals, no problem. Even though it's illegal, no problem. So that to me, is a symbol of that. It's the same phenomenon that we are seeing being repeated. It's systemic. It's all over. It's systemic. So this is why we really need to change over the entire system. The system has to be based on, okay, everybody's healthy, every human being has to be healthy, and then we are all serving nature. We're not the bosses of nature, we never were. We can understand nature to serve nature. So the animals are not there for us to use, the animals are there for us to serve. Imagine that, right? It's the other way around. They are our bosses.
And little Kamaya will have the words to explain that to people. So my question, you have plenty of do you need anything to get your pilot project off the ground? You have drivers, you have volunteers, you have funds.
So
I could come down and be a volunteer. I could be a driver. I could send funds.
I love you, Kate. I love you, Kate. Yeah. So I'm working with this organization called Seva. They have been collecting, money and donations for indigenous people here to address their COVID issues. And so they are going to form the volunteer crew that would do the driving, and they would also then buy the food from the temple once a week in order to fund it. So all the devotees are going to be buying food. So the temple is going to advertise that this is what we are doing, right? So there's a larger cause. It's not just money for the temple. We are actually feeding indigenous people. And so they're going to ask devotees to buy weekly from them, which is the way you fund it, right? So anyone who buys weekly will be paying, actually, as I said, it costs us 50 cents per quart. No, $1 a quart to actually cook the thing.
This is a brilliant way to do this, because everybody needs food, and in these economically challenging times, more economical and healthier food is better. So the people who have the funds, who have the resources, can get in their car and on a Saturday go through the drive-through and get a big pot of stew and pay for it, right? And then that funds folks like Kate going out and doing the deliveries to the communities who need it for free, where we want to deliver it for free. And it'll just become a virtuous cycle. Absolutely love it. It's brilliant.
But you're always welcome, Kate. You can come here and see how it works and go implement it in.
That's kind of where I'm going. I'm thinking that maybe I should just come down and wash some dishes and just listen. And I get together with my Real Fork lady on the 16th of January. Mm-hmm. And what she is doing is kind of similar. She's having a special chef come in and serve this special meal. And she, I've left her a couple of notes and said, we need you on Food Healers, because her name is Rhonda, and I know she just would bring you a lot of inspiration. She's kind of doing this. But it has been good that I've been able to meet with her. But she finally wrote me back, said she's busy until this time. But that's when I'm going to meet with her, if she's having a chef come in and do these meals. And same kind of deal. She wants to pay $26 for the meal if you can, and feed other people with it. So. thinking maybe I should come down and just volunteer for a little bit. Is the temple in, see, my place to stay is in Tempe.
Mhm.
How close is the temple to Tempe? It's in Phoenix?
Oh yeah, it's actually in Chandler. So it's
Oh,
very close to Tempe.
Tempe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's off Weber in Chandler. So it's right off I-10. I didn't realize you have a place here.
Yeah. Well, my mom lived there for years. So Harry Mitchell used to be mayor of Tempe. Anyway, mom was great friends with theirs. The new Heisels, I know a lot of powerhouse people at Arizona State University and Tempe area. Anyway, one of her friends, Debbie, is 85 and has this McMansion that has plenty of room, and I'm always welcome there. So I might just come down and do that.
Awesome.
Love it. You see how we're bringing people together? And on that note, let me make a big push, a big plug for Food Healers, the program we're in the midst of right now. We're halfway through. And Silas, I know you need to get going soon. So whenever you
Right.
need to go, don't worry about it. But we meet every Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. and 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific time. Every Friday, it's Food Healers, 4 hours for Food Healers. And because we're on both ends of the clock, whether you're in the Philippines or India or Zanzibar, wherever you are, one of those times is going to work great for you, and the other time you're going to be asleep, right? So, or for us on the West Coast, it's kind of optimized that we get to do both ends of the clock. But what a great opportunity to bring all these folks together. And for your class in India, who wouldn't want to hang out with the professor in a more casual environment, conversational environment? So tell all the students, listen, come
Okay,
hang
I'll
out with
tell
me.
them.
And
I'll
Silas,
tell
you're a local hero, man. You're a local hero. You got your, IIT, PhD from Stanford. You changed the world at your companies and at Intel. They're all going to want to hang with you. And likewise with folks in the Philippines and everywhere around the world. Let's make Food Healers happen. Let's make it go big and bring us all together and do this on a planetary scale.
Yeah.
It's time. It's time for this to take off exponentially. We have no time to waste.
All
Yeah.
right. I got to get going. Thank you all.
All right,
very much.
Silas.
Okay.
Godspeed and God bless you. Thank you so much, Silas, for all you're doing. We'll
Thank
see
you
you
for the
soon.
good news.
See you soon. See you this
Yeah,
evening.
that too, but I
All
think I'll
right.
be back this evening.
Yeah.
I
All
want to hear
right.
this
Back this
evening
evening.
segment.
And
All
bring
right,
your
loving you all. I'm thinking I'm going to bring a friend.
bring some
Try it.
friends. Heck yeah. BJ, are you taking off, or who's going where? What's all? Oh, BJ's got to take off. Okay. And
I
let's
was just
see
waving goodbye.
what block party number is this? Oh, it's number 44. It's number 44.
44.
And but I didn't send out an email last night. I was going to maybe send one out this morning, but now that we're rolling, maybe I won't get to it. Maybe I will. We'll see.
So where do
But
you tell me again, you've told me before where I find the recordings, and sometimes I don't. I miss
here,
them.
the reality is I haven't posted the recordings
Okay.
to the block party in months.
Okay.
I just
That's
haven't.
why I was having trouble.
Oh yeah.
It's okay.
But earlier recordings, if you just go to radish.org and then click on the banner for Collective Intelligence Block Party, which is at the very top of the page.
Yeah.
There is a block party page, and we've got archives going back to the beginning. The first, 20 or so block parties, we posted like close to 24 hours of recordings each are up there.
Well, let me ask you a ethical question. If somebody, if we ask, you always ask and let people know that we're recording. Does that mean I can also record? I mean, people don't mind being recorded, or do I need to say I'm also recording?
Oh, no, feel free to record.
Because-
No,
Because I
feel
would
free.
be sharing the same way I would share if somebody else did. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, don't hesitate. Feel free to record. And if you need me to make you co-host or whatever, you know the drill on that. You're already co-host, so that's all good. Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. Exciting.
So I think to the point you made earlier, Jason, about, not just poor people making use of the stew being delivered. I imagine families with two working parents or single parents that, they have the ability to buy their food and cook it, but it's wearing them down to the bone, that if they could even 3 days a week depend on a nutritious meal that they only have to heat up rather than prepare and cook, that would be a boon for a lot of families. And I'm sure they'd be willing to donate. It'd be a lot cheaper than pizza,
Yeah. For here in this area, I also think I need to look for a place to deliver, like Silas said, to a community center in an area. At first, I was delivering one time I delivered to 10, 11 families, and it was a lot of driving for me, and I didn't know the locations, and then the logistics of where's the best closest place next to go to. But it worked out really well when I could just take it to Mano Amiga, and they had delivery people. And in the same way, is it the Navajo Nation that he's working with, or a different group? But
Yeah, Navajo First Nation.
Okay, Navajo First Nation. And so I'm looking now for a place or a way to do that. And I've got two that I'm looking at, two groups that then could deliver. But since we don't have a place to cook, one of them is talking about a place to demonstrate how and what to cook for immune boosting foods. So we may go into that area, that direction for a while.
Well, I've got an idea for you.
Okay.
BJ. It's kind of a mind expanding idea. So,
Yeah.
if you need to take a bong hit or whatever, I'm just joking.
Okay.
I'm just joking. No, you've got a very expansive mind already. So, the idea is this, and the principle is simple. Everything starts with conversation, and everything gets worked out in conversation. Now combine that with the camel's nose in the tent. Y'all know the camel's nose in the tent story. I'll say it anyway. If you want to get a camel into a tent, you don't push the camel, you don't try to pull the camel or anything like that. You get the camel's nose into the tent first. Well, how do you do that? With a plate of food. So you lift up the tent, say, hey, camel. Then they get their nose in. Once their nose is in, then you start pulling the plate more into the interior of the tent. The camel will figure out its way in. Thank you very much. You just have to give it the proper incentive. So I think combine those two principles. And the idea is this: hey, come to Food Healers. We're talking about really cool stuff. We're doing really cool projects. I just want you to come learn about it and see. If you have questions, ask questions. If you have ideas for us, give us your ideas. We value you, your creativity, et cetera, et cetera. And when people see what other communities are doing, they'll say, well, shoot, why aren't we doing this here? Hey, let's invite this temple across town. Hey, let's invite this church. Hey, there's this group over here. Hey. And so let the conversation be the agent of spreading the magic and the love of what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
And then once you have enough people in Austin, Texas, or wherever, who are talking about it and getting excited about it, just like Silas, he said, hey, let's go to this temple and get some of this food. And while he's standing in line, he's like, hey, who's the boss here? Who can I talk to? Who's in charge? Hey, here's my idea. How about it? See, everything starts in conversation. That's why I think Food Healers, right here in our own backyard, our own little Food Healers program, I think could become a very big one. I mean, it's sort of like a virtual mega church every Friday morning and Friday night for getting the world together and feeding everyone and healing the planet and healing ourselves, right? And in terms of what Silas was talking about, okay, it's a role reversal rather than us dominating nature. Now nature is, I'm like, whoa. Can't we kind of do this, right? Where we're all side by side together. And I think that I like the airplane mask analogy. Put your own mask on first. This is humanity putting on our own oxygen mask. And once we're finally have the relief of this nourishment that we need, not just food, but also togetherness, we'll say, hey, now that we've stopped killing animals to make this food, and that's the cool thing about veganism is I see it as a cycle. It's like a dialectic because, you know, it's like, sure, I don't, nobody wants to kill animals, but here I am eating meat and dairy. And so as I got that out of my diet, out of my system, then I was able to, you know, really recognize the love I've always had for all animals
Mhm.
and not have to have this sort of split mind. Well, of course I love animals, but of course we eat meat and you know, and
Right.
dairy. And so I think this healing that we're going to experience will just naturally help us to love all of animals and all of nature. If we love the animals, we'll also love their homes, like the Amazon, etc. So I really think this is the key is togetherness and all of us in harmony, not one of us fooling the other or duping the other or dominating the other, but just all of us together. So, and I really think Food Healers is the way. It's so simple. It's just, you know, as we say in Mexico, no hay que buscarle más. You don't, if we've already found it, we don't have to keep looking, right? It's right here in front of us. It's literally right here.
I love that, Jamin. And I do have in my mind to invite a few people, those people that I was speaking of. But now I'm wondering, should I just put out a little announcement and take some of the words that you've used to describe what this place is and put a post on vegans in Austin, so that vegans can, if they're it'll be a broad post, but then there may be one or two people who are interested in the expansion of the food area. Mostly they do recipes, and occasionally there's something as an activist, but not much.
No,
But
I
anyway,
love, yeah, I love it, BJ. Love it. And let me commit to posting this Food Healers, and maybe I can just post the Food Healers segments and get that started so we can spread it around that way. But definitely feel free to use any of the verbiage I'm using, or we could even co-create together what we might want to say. In fact, let's just go ahead and do that. And in fact, what I often do, or I'll just demonstrate it here in the chat, is I just voice dictate right into the chat, and then it's already typed up. We don't even have to type.
love it.
So,
Yeah.
and I encourage you all to do the same. You know, in the chat. Well, on my system, it's a Mac thing that allows me to do the voice dictation. But you know, Windows computers have it as well. Phones have it. Everyone's got the capability. But here's what I would say. So if it's Vegans of Austin, here you could almost start it like with a riddle. What's the best way to get the world to go vegan? The answer for me is feed them plant-based foods, right? And I mean, it almost just seems like a joke or something. I mean, it's like, it's so obvious, right? But Silas hit the nail on the head. Like, you know, if you go to some luncheon or something and say, you know, this is going to be served by default, it's going to be a, you know, a roast beef dish, whatever. If you want a vegan option, check this checkbox, and only 10% of people will check the checkbox. But if you say by default, this plant-based, this vegetarian dish or vegan dish will be served. If you want meat instead, check the checkbox. Only 10% will check the checkbox. So people will go with the flow if you let them, if you give an opportunity. And so the vegans of Austin, if you say, listen, you know, because if you're a vegan, you want the world to be vegan, right? And so, hey, vegans of Austin, you want to make, let's make Austin go vegan. The best way is to feed people plant-based foods, and there's a very efficient way to do that. It's a kind of a radical program, you know, it's new and different. And if you want to learn about it, join us on Food Healers. We meet every Friday, you know, 2 different sessions, 2 hours each. And so I would just say, hey, a bunch of vegans in different parts of the world are coming together. Let's make it like this thing. It's like this exciting thing that's coming together and building, and we just
And
want
it
you to.
is.
And it is.
It
And
is.
I'd like to invite you all to come check it out. Just come check it out.
Yeah.
See, again, nose in the tent, nose first, and the
Mm.
rest will follow. So let's just make it almost like a thing of curiosity and community, and just say, hey, we'd love to share with you all about what we're doing, and we're actually looking into starting something in Austin, just exploring the idea. But first, let's see what they're doing in Arizona, right? Come check it out, right? Yeah, Marco. Mhm.
In kind of the theme of Hairy Man, we could put a funny twist on it too. BJ, there's a lot of snakes in Texas, aren't there?
There certainly used to be, and yes, there are. But
We can market it the way my father-in-law used to market his favorite whiskey. He said it's snake bite medicine. It actually prevents snake bites. He's been drinking it for 40 years and has never been bit by a snake. So we could have a bunch of vegans say, could use that theme a couple different ways, to make it local. In Texas, it could be snake bite medicine. Someplace else, maybe tick medicine or
yes, 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 that's funny.
preventative, and then have vegans. I've been vegan for 10 years and not bit by a snake once.
Yes.
It works.
Yeah, that's funny. That's good. Austin has something called Food Not Bombs. We have Austin is big and has a number of organizations that are helping people eat with food. So yeah, but thanks both of you. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Food Not Bombs folks, we can invite them.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just be sensitive that a lot of people coming to Food Healers may not be vegan.
Right.
And we don't want to we certainly don't want to shame anyone or anything like that. Not that we do that at all.
No.
Anyway, and also, Silas, when I first met Silas online, probably close to 2 years ago now, if not longer, he was so gentle in his approach. I never felt like he was trying to push me in any direction or whatever, just talking about the benefits of plant-based food for the environment, et cetera, et cetera. And I just, it was just kind of a gradual process, right? And so that's another thing we can perfect, is how do we, how do we do this in a way that invites people, that's inclusive, right?
Yeah. Back to a specific thing about the Food Healers program, the one that Silas is doing. I was wondering about the B12 that is added to the recipe that was, in our conference that the Easy Peasy chef demonstrated. She showed how to make it and everything. And so I wonder if they're going to be doing that in their, I guess they will, because that's part of the recipe, is you sprinkle a little B12 on the soup. Just curious about that. Anyway, I'm so excited about that. I'm so excited. And if I had a place, my place is not for big cooking. I would if I had a good place for cooking, but I don't. So I really have to find a church or a place that will let me and a couple of volunteers come in and do some cooking. I would love to share some unity stew. Yeah, Jamin.
So again, I'm gonna invite you to shift the perspective. I just heard you say, I have to find a place with a big kitchen. Let's expand it to we. And also, in the spirit of it all starts in a conversation. And you just, hey, there's this really cool community that I'd really like you to meet. Really great people doing really cool stuff. Just come hang out. No pressure. There's no money involved. There's no nothing. No commitment. Just come meet the folks and join the conversation. Ask some questions, right? contribute some ideas, right?
Beautiful big hug to you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Because look at how all this is coming about. We just made a commitment to come together and work on the food topic, on the food healers topic. And after so much conversation, stuff just starts emerging. It just starts popping, because as we make it a habit, we're creatures of habit. And as we make food healers a habit, as we meet every Friday, and then during the week, we're always, we're thinking about it. And there he is at the temple, ISKCON temple. He just went to pick up food.
I know.
But since he's got food healers on the brain, he said, hey, who's in charge here?
Yeah, that's a great idea. I was thinking about these two places. So one of them is called the Caraboose Museum, and it's a Black History museum. And I don't know if they're open. I was going to, our group is going to be invited to talk with them and see what their needs were. I don't know if they're meeting in person, but it would surely be fun to be able to take them a quart jar of soup, as a gift and a sample. And we may be able to find a way to do that. And then another group in town in San Marcos. Yeah, I just love it. I love this as a place to be on a path to a better world, healing with food. A couple of other things that have come up with Joya and I were talking about doing more presentations. We'll see if that works. That's what she would like to do. I would like to have a group strong enough, if there are others that would like to be able to say, look, you're getting ready to do a fundraiser for the League of Women Voters, and you're going to have a cheese and wine party. Let us provide the food. I'd like, if we had a group that could say, let us provide the food. You don't have to worry about that. All donations then go for you. Or here's how much we could do it for. Another group, Mano Amiga, they have a fundraiser, and I go, but there's, I would like to be able to offer, well, we'll do the food for you. We'll provide the, the plant-based snacks for you, for your group. But that may be off the track just a little bit when we're talking about feeding the people who really need it the most. It's just another little fork one could go down.
But but it's interesting. See, I'm a big proponent of not giving it the focus of feed the people who need it the most, because then we have the real risk of having a stigma associated with it. That if you accept that food, it's because you're needy, right? Whereas again, I'll read off the kind of the 6 main benefit categories: your health, personal health, and that has nothing to do with socioeconomics; compassion for animals, again, nothing to do; save the planet; heart and spirit and togetherness. I'm just kind of using whatever words came to me. And stop the spread of COVID by staying at home, and join the conversation about transforming the world through food and togetherness. Togetherness with each other and togetherness with animals and nature. Transform the world together through food and togetherness. I kind of like that.
Yeah. So Jordan, what do you think? We'd like to hear from you if you'd like to say anything.
And before we put Jordan on the spot, I just want to say, anytime anyone wants to pause recording, just do this or say, hey, pause, please. And that's totally okay. In fact, just to prove the point, 1. All right, after a pause from recording, we're back, and we're talking about collective intelligence. And so obviously one of the ways to manifest collective intelligence is through video conferencing. And we've long envisioned a world in which there's just this whole benevolent network of different video conferences happening. We started on Google Hangouts years ago, and with weekly video conferences. And then we just kind of built and built and built on that concept. And about a year ago, we created this thing which we're doing right now, which we do every Friday, which is the Collective Intelligence Block Party. I assume you saw the banner on radish.org.
Yeah.
So at the top of at the top of radish.org, it says Collective Intelligence Block Party. And it goes for 24 hours every Friday, Saturday. We start at 7 in the morning, Friday morning Pacific time. And just like a block party in a neighborhood, everyone's welcome to just come and go. It's not like, there's any big commitment. It's not like you need to come for all 24 hours or anything like that. And it's just totally casual. And part of the inspiration for the 24-hour Collective Intelligence Block Party was we became aware that there's all these different groups all over the place doing collective intelligence, talking about collective intelligence, developing, platforms, software, communities, events, this and that. And so, why don't we just do a collective intelligence block party where we invite all the different groups to just come and touch base and just say, hi, this is what we're doing with collective intelligence. What are you doing with collective intelligence? Because for those of us who've been thinking about this and talking about this for years, yourself included, this is just, it's kind of like this obvious thing that just needs to happen. So if you imagine in a world, it sounds like the beginning of a science fiction movie, in a world where, hey, sweetheart, hey, morning, in a world where there's like thousands of different Zoom video conferences happening all across the Zoomosphere, right? But all with a benevolent, aim, but with different areas of focus. You got a permaculture group, you got a vegan group, you've got a climate change group, you got a Save the Amazon group, you got a transform politics group, a transform the economy group, you have, intentional communities, you name it. I mean, there's just gazillions of topics. But if all of these meetings were up on some sort of a map, right, some sort of a star chart, right, a map of the Zoomosphere, where you could search and find all these different communities based on keyword search or whatever, right? And then just like, an index, kind of like an index. And then just like you did, oh, there's this collective intelligence block party happening on Radish. And you click on the link and here you are. Hey, Jordan, what's up? What's up? And you're like, whoa, this is really cool. I'm really digging the vibe. Because the reality is all these different communities, each different community kind of has its own culture, its own frequency, right? Its own vibe, its own ethos and whatnot. And then of course, a lot of these different communities share a common, ethos and vibe and everything. And so you could imagine, just like I like using the universe as just a metaphor, all the different stars, a lot of these stars are clustered into galaxies, right? And other,
that makes sense.
Yeah. And then within a given galaxy, you've got different spiral arms and different clusters within the galaxy. And then of course, we're all part of this larger universe that's just beckoning to come together, right? Humans, by our very nature, we want to merge. We want to be together. We want to come together. And now with the combination of COVID and the advent of the Zoomosphere, right? We're all coming together but we're like a bunch of nervous 12-year-olds at a middle school dance. We don't quite know how to do it, right? And the sixth graders are kind of looking at the eighth graders and watching how they do it. I remember when I was in the 6th grade and I went to my first middle school dance, we show up and there's all these bigger 8th graders who are all, they just seem so cool, like they knew what they were doing. And, we 6th graders were all just kind of giggling and uncomfortable and don't quite know what we're doing. So we're figuring out how to do this. And because a lot of the different meetings out there are like very specific, and this is what we're doing and this is who we are, and it's almost a little bit intimidating. That's why we said, you know what, screw it, let's just have a block party, make it casual, right? Bring some big chalk and draw out some hopscotch on the asphalt, potluck, bring your own food, come as you are, and just make it a very casual thing, because we want to encourage not just individuals, but whole groups to kind of come out of their shell and say, hey, this is who we are, and this is what we're doing, and this is what we think about collective intelligence. This is what we're focused on. And so we just started a year ago, and we just stuck with it. And for the first, 15 or 18 block parties, I would literally stay up for 24 hours straight to kind of, as sort of the DJ, the scratch DJ, who's there, just to kind of give it some continuity. And then people just started popping in from all over the world. And it was like, wow, and then COVID happened. Just like within weeks of us starting the block party, COVID happened. And suddenly everyone's coming to the Zoomosphere. And it just sort of became a thing. And from there, we've started doing other things, like to kind of help to kind of better organize it. One thing is a block party. Okay, that's fine, that's great. But it's it's got its pros and cons and all that. And so we've since created something much more structured. I'll screen share here and show what we call the press conference. Let me just screen share real quick.
Yeah, the press conference is pretty cool, I'll tell you.
Okay, so here's the press conference, and the idea of the URL is thepressconference.org, and this image here, drawn up by some friends of ours in Holland, kind of tells the story. There's conversations happening everywhere. So this is kind of a picture of the Zoomosphere that I'm talking about. And it's a world of conversations. And so we did our first press conference on November 19th. Here's Pato and Antoinette, prominent musicians. And here we have kind of like a little menu. You can go through and click around and see the different welcome addresses and introductions that people give. And then we have, the basic idea, the idea of the press conference, and here you can see a bunch of the different topics that people have spoken on, is that you could think of it as the people's press conference. I've done a number of press conferences over the years for different purposes, where you bring in the media and you have speakers and all that. And I said, well, listen, why don't we have a people's press conference, so that all these different individuals all over the world, individuals and organizations of whatever size, could just be one person with an idea, can get up and talk for 5 minutes and say, hey, this is what I'm working on. And I'd like to invite you all to join me in a conversation about it. And then they can say, here is my conversation on the map. Here's where, we meet every Tuesday from 2 to 4 p.m. or whatever, and, and join us. So the press conference is kind of one mechanism, one vehicle to help make this more systematic. And so we're working on developing the system so that anyone can go to the pressconference.org and sign up and pick a date, because we do the press conference every Thursday now, and say, I want to present, just pick your Thursday. And then we have 5 different 1-hour slots from noon to 5 Pacific time. And you can pick a time slot, And then somewhere within that time slot, we won't guarantee exactly a start time, but just make sure you're there for that hour at the beginning of the hour. And then we figure out the order right then and there. It's like, hey, people who need to leave soon, raise your hand and we'll get you speaking sooner rather than later. And we record all the conversations, all the presentations, and then publish them. And then what we're working on is, and making this systematic, is that you can say, hey, so this is my topic, and we meet every 2 weeks or once a week or once a month or once a day or with whatever frequency, and then we get those meetings up on the calendar, so that calendar becomes sort of like the index, right? Where people can then search for meetings on whatever topic and see when they're happening, and then just show up. You add it to your calendar and then you just show up. Here, let me get this to Melissa. Hey, Wanda, how you doing? Good. Can I pass you to Melissa? Because I'm in the middle of a meeting. Okay. No problem. Thanks for your patience. So, we want this universal calendar, because in the end, it all boils down to meetings, to Zoom meetings. If you're interested in this topic, show up, and just like you did today. And then, in addition to a calendar, we're also playing with. Let me pull up on the screen another concept. I'll just screen share it here. And that is to have like an index where, here, let me just screen share real quick. So imagine that, our focus is on, saving, healing, and transforming life on Earth. Saving life on Earth is the first imperative. And as we save life on Earth, then the next step is healing. How do we heal life on Earth? Okay, so this is kind of like just a mapping I threw together just to kind of show the point. It's not intended to be complete, but if we consider, and here, think of these different horizontal layers as sort of like you're doing an archaeological dig on, the world's problems and how to solve them. So if we go to the very bottom layer, and here on the left column is sort of like the headings for the entire layer, right? So bottom left, root causes. And so here on the very bottom are kind of these root causes. Why do we have so many problems? Is it our evolutionary history? Are we just kind of screwed up as a species? And if so, where did we go wrong? Right? Is it totalitarian agriculture? Thank you, Daniel Quinn, and his great books from the 90s, analyzing our food systems. Is it separation? And did that separation get caused by totalitarian agriculture? And this is my land and that's your land. And here's a barbed wire fence separating the two. And of course, there's no shortage of topics on, dark forces and the shadow and this and that. Okay, so anyway, root causes. And from root causes stem chronic world problems, overpopulation and our humanity's footprint, politics, economics, and our entire set of living arrangements. There's great arguments that we're fundamentally living the wrong way. Organized crime of different kinds, government-sponsored organized crime, criminal drug cartels, etc. Other acute world problems: hunger, destruction of the biosphere and extinction, pandemics, planetary overheating, economic collapse. And now, on the bright side, solutions. Big problems call for big solutions. So what kind of big solutions are we looking at? Well, we've got solutions in the realm of economic and political transformation. Veganism is a mega solution, right? One of the most important. A new story for humanity. We need a new story. We're a species that runs on stories. So let's come up with a new story. Solutions for eradicating the coronavirus. Food healers is the best I know of. Let everyone stay at home and we'll bring you the food. right? Humanity needs to organize to deliver food en masse to everyone. Thank you, sweetheart. Um, Cooling the planet through solar radiation management is another mega solution. And then, so if you think of this whole layer of mega solutions as like golden eggs, each mega solution is like a golden egg, then where do we get the goose to lay the golden eggs, which I call a meta solution, that which generates the actual solutions. And, so from collective intelligence, the pinnacle is collective super intelligence, not just collective intelligence, collective super intelligence, which can be supercharged with systems, including artificial intelligence. Benevolent forms of artificial intelligence, mind you. But there's actually a really good book by an professor at Oxford, Nick Bostrom, called Superintelligence. And part of the book addresses collective superintelligence and some of the same topics we're addressing here. And so, if that's the goal, right, or the meta goal rather, so that we can then achieve all of our other goals through the application of collective superintelligence, what's the journey to collective superintelligence? How do we get there, right? And that's really one of pretty much my big mission in life, is how do we get humanity to come together in an organized, super intelligent way to accomplish all this. So all of this now, so if you imagine this is just kind of like an interface, imagine this is like a menu on a home page. And then for each of these topics, you can click and see subtopics. And on some of those, you can click again and see subtopics. And so the whole thing can be part of a taxonomy of topics. And then for each such topic, whether broad or specific, you can then see an index, a listing of all the meetings that are scheduled, upcoming meetings on all these topics. And then you can pop into the ones that you're interested in and say, hey, I'm so glad I found you all, right? Let's talk. You're talking permaculture. I'm in. Let's talk about it. What you got? And then from those conversations, projects emerge, and then people can come together and work on those. And those projects in turn are mediated and moderated and managed through conversation. And so one of the things one kind of overall banner for everything I'm talking about that is under development is this thing called Snack Bar, right? Which is an acronym for the social network of actual conversations. I'm just putting it in the chat there. The social network of actual conversations. And Snack Bar is a URL. We haven't developed it. There's no point in going there now because there's nothing there, not even a splash page, right? But the idea is that, so if you think of the press conference, the idea of the press conference is maybe like 100 different conversations can be announced every week at the press conference. And if you think of that as a fire hose, there's just this fire hose of all these announcements and conversations and topics. Then Snack Bar is kind of like this Olympic-sized swimming pool that captures all the output of that fire hose and organizes it by major topic, subtopic, subtopic, and has this universal calendar where you can find all these different meetings and join and share them. And this is how, through this universe of conversations, that's how I think humanity is going to get through this compound cluster bomb of crises that we're in the midst of. Through conversation. I mean, how else? Are we going to wait for some dictator to come along and, kill all of us with the wrong skin color and then organize us into regiments of I don't know what? I mean, I don't think so. We've as a species, we've tried that and it didn't exactly work out very well. On the other hand, those instances in history where we've come together and applied our collective intelligence, that's where we've defeated even the most threatening challenges. Solar radiation management is another great example. We're living in an exponentially overheating planet where all of complex life is threatened. And if we don't get on top of it really quickly, we're all going to cook to death. Just look at Australia, look at the Amazon, look at the West Coast of the United States where I live. We're burning up. We can't take it anymore. And so there's only one way to cool the planet in time that I know of. And I've been studying this ever since I was a graduate student of hydroclimatology at MIT back in the early 90s. There's only one way to both stop the exponential overheating and actually reverse it. And that's through solar radiation management, reflecting a significant portion of the sunlight that's falling on the Earth back into space. So just reduce the heat load, basically. Greenhouse gases are a really tricky one. It turns out it's really hard to get all this infinity of gases that are way up there in the atmosphere, to herd those cats and get them sequestered. We just don't have the tools for it yet. I'd love it if we did, but the reality is we don't. We can plant trees, but now those trees are getting overwhelmed by wildfires. So, and it takes a long time for those trees to grow. We don't have a lot of time. That's the nature of an exponential. It's just, it's a runaway train of exponential overheating. So there's only one way to stop that train, and that's to put something really big right in front of it, and that's solar radiation management. So anyway, I've kind of had diarrhea of the mouth here for the last 10, 15 minutes. So I'm going to go on mute and invite you all to speak. Thanks.
Thank you, Jamin. When the door of collective intelligence opens, I mean, there's a lot to say, and you've done a whole lot, and I'm really grateful, and I would like to volunteer some hours to help so that there's not just a few. Yeah, I would like to volunteer some hours to help out. And
I accept. I accept. Thank you, BJ.
Yeah, I'll be glad to do that. Any questions, Jordan? Any comments?
Well, it's kind of like the Big Bang. It sounds like there's a lot condensed and it could just expand on forever. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
What he was saying. Yeah, that's the image I get. I also feel like Jamin is a kind of charitable free spirit conglomeration of like Steve Jobs and Luke Ries, or Eric Ries. Who? Yeah, that's kind of what I feel like I'm getting here. Yeah, kind of like Eric Ries because of like the lean startup innovative approach, and then Steve Jobs because of the ability to explain things so well. I actually really appreciate that. I really like, and I'm actually really curious where you learned to explain things so well, because that's a part of what I try to do with my clients and for myself. And so, yeah, it's very, very beautiful how you did that. And you use a conglomeration as well of a lot of different metaphors to explain things very, very concisely and with a lot of feeling and power. So I feel like it was well said, and I understand it well because of your ability to explain. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I guess a question I would have would be, see how I can formulate this. I guess first would be, would you recommend any books about this? I know you said one from MIT. I actually know that one about superintelligence, right?
Yeah, by Nick Bostrom, yeah.
And then you also mentioned, I think it was a website. It was called Press. It's like a press conference, or is that not up yet?
Oh yeah, no, that's up. That's up. Here, I'll put it. I'm just gonna paste the URL so you'll have it as a link. 1 second, I'll put it in the chat. Yeah, and we just started that in November was the first press conference, and we just had one yesterday. The one in November, which is up on the homepage of the website, all the videos, all the recordings from the November press conference. That's really the only like big one that we've done that was super well organized and super well attended. Since then we've taken a step back to build the systems that we need and really get organized so we can make it scale. So in terms of books, there's a really good book called Big Mind by Mulligan. Here, I'll put that in the chat. Big Mind.
I'm trying to remember, Jordan, how you explained, what you're doing, how you ended up at Collective Intelligence. That this is still just part of an overall project, right?
Yeah, so I have kind of a startup that has to do with, I call it moral influence. It's kind of I guess I didn't necessarily coin that. I guess it would be the founder of Acumen, who kind of coined this kind of a moral imagination and moral influence of the world, this social business and this kind of thinking. And so, yeah, I'm trying to do this as a project and developing a course for people who want to kind of bring this moral influence and moral imagination element into their business or like their leadership role wherever they are. And I think collective intelligence is just something that I kept on coming back to as I was studying, and that's how I found Radish.
Yeah, I'm not sure directly if this will help you, but one of our regulars here just published a book, and it's called The Process: A Guide to Finding Your Path and Creating Lasting Positive Change.
Okay.
And he's a student of neuro-linguistic programming, and he's he has I can't remember what his master's is in, but he also has a consulting business, and
Okay, yeah.
I think you guys might benefit from talking together. Probably you end up meeting here at some point.
Yeah, well, I definitely will plan on coming.
Right now, in order to get his, get a few copies out and get interest, he's got his Kindle version is on sale for 99 cents right now. And he's
okay.
Interesting. He's been tracking his sales. He's getting a lot out of Brazil right now that are buying the book. And it's set up kind of like a workbook when you get the actual soft cover, and it's got work pages right in it to keep track of everything as you go through the book. So it's pretty cool.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. It's Marco, right?
Yeah.
Aster, right? Are you of German descent?
Yeah, both my parents were born in East Berlin.
Nice. Yeah, I lived and worked in Germany for some time. Nice. It's cool. I actually live in Europe right now. I'm not in America.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I noticed your name, and so I was, it's a very German name. Yeah.
Elster is German for magpie.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the magpie man. Yeah, they're great. Yeah, I definitely will plan on coming again.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying that. Yeah, it sounds like this is kind of going in direction of what I'm looking for. I also noticed that there's a lack of spaces in which one can be challenged to think more broadly and to think critically. One big thing that.
I didn't touch.
I think it's the NSA shutting down Jordan. As soon as you said think broadly and critically, the NSA is just like, so.
All right, Linda. Hello, Linda.
Good morning.
Linda's back, and we're gonna have a party. Hella, Linda's back, and she's got some news for us. What you got for us, Linda? Great to see you, darling.
I got nothing.
Well, that was anticlimactic.
I'll have to let it
all right. Well, we had a super inspiring food healers segment today with Silas, and he's just on fire, working with a really cool temple in Phoenix and feeding folks in the Navajo First Nation. So we're super inspired. And we're inspired to just expand this conversation and expand food healers all around the world.
Absolutely.
Can you open it?
Yeah.
Alyssa.
Oh, Linda's saying hi. I'm on earbuds. Here, but let me turn off this so you can say hello properly. Okay. Try. Hey.
Hey guys, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
My rounds with the animals and my mom, who's 90.
Oh, awesome.
Green juice.
Morning, Patricia. Morning.
See you guys.
Okay, see ya. I've got to change the kitty litter, but I can be back. What is the what happens at this hour? Is this just conversation, or is there a planned meeting at this hour?
Nothing. We're pretty unstructured
Okay.
at this point. Not that we have to be, but it's just kind of the way we're rolling at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, good. Well, before Jordan leaves, I know he was in the middle of something, but he's back before I leave and come back. I wanted to say that how much I really appreciated the press conference. See, we have a little group called the Immune Boosters here, and I asked Joya if she would talk about it. So she got 2 minutes to tell people about the Immune Boosters, and other people were talking about what they're doing. And I so appreciate, and I need to go back and listen to some of them, because some of them I need to get in touch with, especially the person who has money to offer people who are doing good things. You know, she had a good one there. And there was just so much there. So I'm just really grateful for the press conference and look forward to attending that again. And it's fun to be able to have something, and it's fun to have somebody to be able to hear from people for 2 minutes about what they're doing, and not, and then you can go back and hear more when you want to know more, or go to their website or their email address or whatever, phone call. So anyway, I just wanted to put in a plug for how much I appreciate the press conference.
Thank you. Thank you, VJ. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, we while we were building up to it, we all knew it was going to be good, but I think it exceeded all our expectations by a good margin.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing, collective intelligence, people coming together, putting together the indexing the Zoomosphere, right? I mean, it's the next obvious thing, right? I mean, Google indexed the internet going back to the late 90s. And when that happened, it was just like, duh, that's obvious. Duh, we needed to do that. Here we are over 20 years later. And, you know, the Zoomosphere is Internet 3.0. It's an internet you can talk to, right? As opposed to, oh, let me peck away on this keyboard and read some text. That's not how we evolved. That's not who we are, right? We're a social species. We use language, we use stories, we use metaphors. We scratch on the walls of caves in southern France to tell people how to kill deer. And pardon the non-vegan metaphor there, the non-vegan story, but it's been an evolution. It's just who we are. And so this is what the internet was made for, the Zoomosphere, and hence an index. The fact that we haven't indexed the Zoomosphere is just the biggest, gigantic, most obvious missing on the planet right now. A planet that's on fire, a planet that's in chaos, a planet where, a good sixth of us are chronically either hungry or malnourished or undernourished, right? It's just the obvious answer for how do we get humanity together to work together and co-create solutions and co-create, reinvent ourselves as a species. So indexing the Zoomosphere is a big one. And so we're just kind of like this lumbering Sasquatch, taking one clumsy step at a time on this evolutionary path forward. One big step was the block party, which we're on right now. Another big step, the press conference. A huge leap forward is going to be Snack Bar as we get that built out. so that we can, you know, find each other. Now, if you combine the snack bar and the universal calendar with the press conference, here's real magic, because here's the idea. So the snack bar, social network of actual conversations. That's what we're doing right now. We're having an actual conversation. When somebody posts something on Facebook and then somebody types something, well, that's stupid. You know, that's not a conversation. That's humanity passing notes under the door, right? And notes which are more often than not misunderstood. And then, you know, some kind of flurry of hate. You know, that's not evolution. That's going in the opposite direction. We need actual conversations. And so you can imagine, as you browse around through the taxonomy of topics, or whether you do keyword searches, and then you see a listing of conversations that are scheduled coming up in the next week that map to what you're interested in. The next thing is, imagine that for each of those, there is a little snack, a little free sample at the snack bar. And that could be a 2-minute video of somebody who made a presentation last week at the press conference saying, hey, hello world, this is what we're talking about, and this is, you know, what we're concerned about, and this is our ethos, and this is what we believe, and this is who we're talking with, and you're invited. And there, in 2 minutes, you got a free sample at the snack bar of a conversation. And then and that will do a huge amount to lubricating people getting into a conversation that they otherwise, you know, I mean, look, we see all stuff all over the web. Oh, we're having a meeting, da da da. Oh, join this, join that. And sure, you see some graphic art, but you don't know who's there. You don't know what the spirit, the culture is, right? You don't know if it's going to be some high pressure sale to do X, Y, or Z. You don't know if you're going to feel uncomfortable there. You don't know if it's going to be a place where people are put down, where people are, you know, talked over. And so there's a lot of trepidation to jumping into something new, a meeting that you'd never seen before or participated in before. So, you know, how do we do this? That's what we're figuring out.
Jamin, do you know a website called Kialo.com?
Kialo.
Yeah, it's actually kind of like what you're doing, but I thought of it, but it's not in a video sense, not like a Zoomosphere, but it's like an alternative social media, like you were saying, like where it's an actual conversation almost, but it's almost in terms of, instead of just conversations, like argument, like structured arguments where people can actually make progress towards a specific understanding and in search of truth in an organized way. And it's really, really cool. You see different sides, and people can contribute to different sides of an argument. And I think it's a champion for free speech. And it reminded me, so I don't know if you have time, you might be interested in it as you're formulating your own strategy and whatnot. Just Kialo.com. Let me send it to you.
K-E-L-O? No, K-E-A.
Sorry, my Hungarian brain. K-I-A-L-O.
I don't know the letter key. K-I.
K-I, sorry.
Kialo.
Yeah,
Okay.
alphabet gets mixed up in my head. Okay, yeah, that's good.
Are you in Hungary?
I am in Hungary. My wife is Hungarian, and I speak Hungarian actually a lot, but so my brain gets jumbled sometimes with all kinds of languages inside my brain.
That's super
my
cool.
apologies.
No, that's super cool. And what a great place to develop software, Budapest, right?
Yeah, I live in a village, Hungarian village, because actually part of the reason is because of maybe certain values that you also share, it seems like, with maybe veganism and maybe food independence and food source independence and freedom and autonomy and fresh air and a lifestyle that is productive to health and human evolution, I guess, as you would say.
Wow.
Yeah, and
super cool.
That was another thing I was thinking about. You said something there. 1 second here. Try to remember this. Let's see. Well, anyway, if it comes back to mind, I'll tell you. But yeah, go ahead and take a look at that website.
Kiala.com. Yeah, I'm happy to share. Let me just get it up here and I'll screen share.
And so how long does this go on for, this video like conference?
24 hours. We start at 7 in the morning Pacific time. It's Friday
okay.
morning.
I
And
thought
we
it
go-
ended at like 9
Oh,
a.m.
food healers goes from 7 to 9.
Oh, so this so
And-
literally this video is going to be going for 24 hours.
This video conference, yeah, this
Oh,
Zoom
wow.
meeting will be going for 24 hours. Every
That is radical. Wow.
well, yeah, and,
Wow.
and because we wanted to span the whole world, right?
That's actually extremely cool. No, I mean, yeah. Yeah, no,
We are the cool kids.
We're the cool kids. We're the cool kids in the
Yeah.
school.
no, I actually was really curious too about you, Jamin, because you almost seem like you're like some hidden secret or something. Like, because
I'm the hidden gem.
well,
right?
because the way you speak, like I read a lot, right, for work, everything. I read probably around 60, 70 books a year. That's not just reading, that's like studying and developing materials out of that. And you have the same voice out of the most like top-notch authors that I read. Like only the top-notch authors that I read can quite match the voice that you have when you talk and explain things with the words you do. So I'm just very curious about like, where did you learn to communicate like this, or to, explain things like this as you do?
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the compliments. Number one, I am my father's son. My father, John Shively, just has a really nice way of expressing himself, and he passed away a few years ago after a very long, beautiful life, and he was a community leader in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is where I'm originally from. And the San Francisco Bay Area itself, I was born in 1968, so I growing up in the 70s and 80s, and there's all these transformational social and environmental movements, and the University of California at Berkeley, where I grew up very nearby and did my undergraduate and part of my grad studies there. That was the home of the free speech movement during the Vietnam War. And so between my father and just the broader community and all the goings on, I just grew up in a culture where there was a lot of conversation, right? And respectful disagreement, sometimes debate, other times co-creation. And so I'm a big believer in exploring different models. And there's the Socratic method, and who was it who was on earlier? Was it Charlie Manano or someone who had some cool stuff about, like, somebody's got like this website, I forget what the website was, but there are these methods. Marco, do you remember what it was? And he'd show like people on the street just interviewing people and saying, well, what do you believe? Well, I believe this, da, 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 da. And it was all about questions, as opposed to debate, as opposed to saying, well, here's the opposite. It was like, no, it was just asking them, so why do you believe that? And where did you get that? And da, 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 da. And so I believe this is all part of collective intelligence. And the elements that are coming together here are culture, practice, praxis, models, structure. And so, we're just on the quest for this magical Hungarian goulash of all these different, ingredients that need to come together so that we can finally, get the wiring right, and suddenly the supercomputer will emerge. There's a great little
The super goulash
goulash
will emerge.
So, but so I've had a lot of great teachers, and I've also lived a number of years in Mexico, and I started going to Mexico in 1984, doing volunteer work there. And the Mexican culture is very conversational and very colorful, and they use stories and metaphors. And I've had a number of colleagues and friends from India, from China, from just different places around the world. And so you're able to draw from different cultures. And so, for example, whereas in the United States, we have, a certain kind of dominant culture, in Mexico, the culture really lends itself to free-flowing dialogue, but with a warmth to it, with a very warm intention, a very inclusive intention, not so much competitive, but inclusive and co-creative. And so and you know, as you're experiencing there, living in Hungary in a village, I mean, there's so much to learn from so many different peoples around the world. So I've been constantly challenged and nourished by different perspectives and cultures and modalities. And so, and also, but practice makes perfect. And so just being on the block party every Friday, I mean, this is a new medium, the Zoomosphere, you know, and a lot of people kind of show up here and they do this, right? They turn off their camera and they just kind of listen, right? Because, you know, it can be kind of scary. And so I'm just one of those, I'm just like one of those Russian babies who was like born in a swimming pool, and just swimming is just kind of natural for me, but it's just practice. So, so yeah, just putting in the hours, just doing it and getting in there and then doing it.
Yeah, like 10,000 hours, right?
Yeah, no,
10,000 hour theory. No, that makes a lot of sense. So I don't want to be taking, like, I'm extremely curious, but I don't want to be taking up the stage too long, and I don't want to spotlight. So
no. That's where I need to give you some coaching here.
Okay,
So get out of that scarcity model and get out of that model of, oh no, don't let me take up the stage. You're asking brilliant questions, giving brilliant information, and it's extremely enriching to all of us. And you know, look at Marco. He's cheering. This
is actually, this is a sign language cheer.
Yeah, it's
I actually know sign language too. It's a really nice language.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome. And part of what you're saying too, I find as well, with the whole learning different languages, for example, like being in Mexico, I feel like the sign language communities around the world are just insanely expressive. And you have to actually think, like, basically what you're doing in sign language is like you have a picture in your mind, and then you're basically just painting on space, like space is a canvas, and you're using your body and your posture and everything to then paint an expression or like a metaphor or something. And it's insanely challenging, actually, you know, because I feel like I grew up in my life mostly, maybe as you could say, like a left hemisphere person, where I was very like analytical and I think in words, and then having to then kind of be immersed in like a sign language community has really opened my mind up to like this creative, you know, right hemisphere, you could say, expression, you know, having to forcing myself to think more creatively, like in pictures and these things. And so it's really cool. I like how you did the sign language thing. Celebration, that's very cool.
Yeah. And also, you know, I want to point out something else that's a cultural thing, right? So I, you know, spent a lot of my working life in corporate America. I worked at Microsoft for a number of years, and I worked my way up, and I became corporate strategy manager, which gave me access to Bill Gates, Steve Ballmer, you know, Ray Ozzie, Alex Gennard, you know, you know, a lot of the leaders of the industry, and it gave me easy access to the whole company. And so I would organize these meetings, and I would invite people from all over the company, and we'd say, all right, you know, how are we going to leapfrog Google, right? And we'd have these expansive conversations and do all this cool stuff. So, but in American corporate culture, you got your 1 hour meeting, you got an agenda, you know, heaven forbid you should talk for more than 2 minutes, and heaven forbid you should not get to the point. And so with the block party, we turn that on its head. When you've got a 24-hour stretch, right? You know, Jordan, if you want to talk for 15 minutes on something, that's a gift. That's 15 minutes that I don't have to be, you know, figuring out what the hell I'm going to say next or what Marco's going to say next.
No, I appreciate that, Jamin. Yeah. Jamin, right? Jamin.
Yeah. Long form. So Jordan, talk away, brother. Just grab the talking feather and talk. Go for it. Now, listen. Yeah, no, I
try to be, as a cultural thing, like you were saying, right? I try to be polite because I just literally, you know, like a bomb came in here out of nowhere and just surprised everybody. And I don't want to just, you know, shake the boat that much with my seismic waves or something. So, I mean, whenever you enter to a new community, it's usually good to like step back and first analyze how do they do this, and then the rules.
We love the waves.
Oh, right, you love the wave. Okay, that's great.
No, do it. Just go. Just go. And,
Yeah, actually, this is really fabulous. This is actually really interesting. Like, I actually, this is probably one of the best things I found in my search so far. I mean, this way outbeats so many other things. And I'm just curious now, Jamin, like, is it for you? You're kind of the CEO and organizer of this, and I guess it would help me to be more vulnerable if I could also see some into you. And I'm just curious with, maybe I'm framing it wrongly. Maybe you'd like to frame it in a different way, like different language, like perhaps like what you get out of this. So I mean, like you personally, like, so you're making kind of a business model out of this. Like, is this is it monetized somehow? Like, what's the big benefit maybe that you're getting out of this? Or
Totally. All right. Well,
Too funny.
I'm gonna pause this recording and start a new one just so that because we're kind of getting off on a new track. No, it's great.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
here goes. I'm gonna stop.